Hello, my name is Amberly Martin, and I would like to take this time to do the video blog for Professional Counseling Skills. For the first part of the assignment, I would like to look at each video and highlight what I noticed for the skills of counseling that were present. The first video was the listening cycle. The counselor in there was very non-judgmental, and it seemed as though he was very aware of the nonverbal communication that was being both sent by the client as well as himself. He was very diligent on asking both open-ended questions as well as closed-ended questions to gain better understanding. He also paraphrased the client's information that he was receiving to make sure that what he was hearing was correct. He also took time to summarize as he went along to make sure that he was clear on what the client was communicating, which I felt was very important to do so that the session did not have any miscommunications and there was nothing left to not understand. For the second video, the invitational skills, I found it interesting that they started with asking the client to tell her about what was going on. She set the stage to be very inviting of making the session centered on the client. She was very open about asking the client specific questions to make them feel comfortable that she was in fact listening, as well as wanting to create an environment where the client was comfortable in knowing that the session was about them. For the third video, reflecting feelings, the counselor, I believe it was Mark, asked questions to gain understanding. He didn't just go under an assumption of what he thought the client was saying. He asked questions to make sure that what he was hearing was in fact what the client was trying to relay. He also took time to try to identify the specific feelings and emotions that the client was trying to explain. He paraphrased what the client was expressing, along with offering up different options to explain what specific feeling and emotion the client was dealing with at that current time for that specific topic. He was very honest about what he was hearing the issue to be, and was very open about explaining areas he didn't quite understand. On the reflecting meaning, he took the time to gain a full understanding of the personal significance of the client. In doing so, he used all of the three other areas that we just discussed of listening, using invitational skills, and reflecting feelings that are necessary to gain a more complete understanding of the meaning. He also didn't rush it. The counselor was also very open about explaining that he didn't understand how the client's culture would have influenced his personal views of the situation he was dealing with. And again, he summarized his own perceptions of what they had discussed to make sure that he was hearing exactly what the client intended for him to hear. For the second part of the question, are the sessions that we watched similar to what I expected a counseling session to be? For the most part, they were very consistent with what I know a counseling session to be. Having been in a few myself, it was very similar to the counselor asking questions for the client to explore their own personal perceptions of what they were dealing with. The one thing that I did notice was it seemed as though most of the sessions that were videoed were either the initial intake session to gain understanding of what was going on, and that there was a little uncomfortable and unease about being, I can only guess, being videotaped. So it was definitely apparent that there was some uncomfortableness with the client, and a little bit even with the counselor having been on video, but I would guess that that was just because they were being videotaped. I also noticed that the dialogue between the counselor and the client were very consistent with what I know counseling sessions to be, and it is important to note that between the videos, the differences with each client-counselor interaction, and understanding that each exchange that a counselor and a client has is going to be unique depending on that specific relationship.